All righty then. Good evening, everybody. It's now 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at this time. At this time, we're going to go ahead and stand up for an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. But we're going to take a quick pause as we stand up to recognize the family of Alejandro Ochoa. He's a student from Los Fresnos who recently passed away, and just wanted to pay our respects to him. So we'll take a quick moment of silence. All right, thank you. At this time, Mark, could you lead us in an invocation, please?
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for each one here tonight, and thank you for our elected officials and the sacrifices they make to be here and to learn about our city and to know about our city and make decisions. And we pray that you continue to bless them, continue to bless Los Fresnos, and thank you for the rain that we're getting. We ask you to send more and to send rain up behind Falcon and Amistad, and we pray that those can get filled. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Any visitors' remarks? Okay, at this time, we want to call up Tony Izaguirre, our tax collector. Thank you for being here this evening. The floor is yours for the next, is it 4 or 5 minutes? 5 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's nice to be here with you and talk about the reason I'm here is I had bumped into your city manager at noon, and we were talking about trying to get on the agenda to talk about the property taxes. As you all know, I am your tax assessor collector. I've been your tax assessor collector for many years, and I just wanted to give you a small report. But the agenda had been out already, and supposedly you don't have another meeting till next month. And he suggested I come and talk for a few minutes. Well, anyway, my office has been collecting property taxes for the city of Los Fresnos for many years. I'm just gonna talk briefly on your collections. Your collections for this, at the end of your fiscal year, this year, were 97.85%. You round it off, it's 98%. Last year was 98.22, so we're in the same collection rate as last year versus this year. Before that, in 2020, your collection rate was 103%. And the reason it was 103% is that we started with a current balance of 2.0, and we ended up at 2.1. And that results in any changes that the appraisal district might forward to us. So you had an increase in value during the year. So, and I guarantee you it's not going to happen again. That 103, we're never going to see it again. I know the county had a huge collection rate together with all the districts that we represent. But the main reason that I'm here, and I think I gave, there was a handout that I gave your city manager, is we have a small pamphlet that we put together for all the taxpayers in Cameron County, because even though taxpayers pay their property taxes, have been paying their property taxes for a long time, they don't realize the other services that we offer. For instance, we added the Lone Star National Banks 2 years ago and we renegotiated the depository contract where our taxpayers could go to any Lone Star National Bank and pay their property taxes. And the following year, we included you could go to any Lone Star National Bank and get your license renewal tax. So this is a new service that we offered to the taxpayers of Cameron County, including the city of Los Fresnos. Presently, we're upgrading, remodeling the Los Fresnos office. We've had several complaints about the Los Fresnos tax office as to all of a sudden, the last 5 years, I think, all of a sudden, there's been an increase in traffic in that office. And the office was designed to have 2 tellers in the lobby. And we decided that we could, with the help of the county commissioners and Pizza Food that's here today, we were able to get funding, and we're going to be adding an additional 2 more tellers in the lobby. So that should help the congestion that we do have here in the Los Fresnos tax office. So that's one project that we're working on as we speak. But the important part of me being here is in November 7th of this year, there's going to be 14 amendments to the Constitution. One of them is Proposition number 4. And that's the only proposition that I'm supporting. Of course, all of them are good, but this is up our alley, and it talks about increasing the homestead exemptions from 40,000 to 100,000. And that's going to be a huge savings to the taxpayers of not only Los Fresnos, but every citizen in the county. The legislature gave us the right to either we include it in the current tax bill, or do we wait till after the election to send out a tax bill? Well, we took the option of including the 100,000, which we haven't voted on. We will vote on it November 7th. And I've been in this business for several years, and I guarantee you that it will pass. But in case it doesn't, and I hope it does, but if it doesn't, that means my office is going to have to send out another tax bill right after the election to collect the difference that wasn't collected up front. But I'm a firm believer that the citizens of the state of Texas will vote for this exemption. But we took our tax bill should be in the mail this week, and it does include the $100,000 exemption. And one of the main reasons we decided to include the exemption in the October mail out, which is this week, is for the taxpayers of Cameron County to take advantage of the 3% discount for those individuals that pay their property taxes early. State statute states that if the bills are mailed early and the governmental bodies give that 3%, that those taxpayers that pay their taxes early will receive a 3% discount if the taxes are paid in October. So that's one of the main reasons that we decided to do the mail out and include the $100,000 up front so the taxpayers take advantage of the homestead exemption at the very beginning. So in your packet, I included the amendment. This is the way it's going to look on the ballot. It's a Spanish and English, and it talks about the homestead exemption. That's going to be increased from 40,000 to 100,000. It also talks about the board of directors for the appraisal district. It's going to be 5 members of the board are going to be appointed by the different districts based on their evaluations, and 3 of them are going to be elected countywide. This is a brand new, this is part of the negotiation between the Senate and the governor's office. So they included this year that three members of the board of directors will be elected countywide. And that's part of the Constitution Amendment in Proposition number 4. I included the very important dates: last day to register, early voting, last day to vote, and of course the actual date of November the 7th. I gave you copies of those, English and Spanish. I also included the 14 propositions that are going to be in the ballot. This talks about 14 different constitutional amendments that will be in the ballot. It's our responsibility to vote for each and one of them. And my goal is to, and I've been going to every civic organization in the county, going to every city that I represent, telling the commissioners in the civic organizations how important it is to go vote for this particular proposition number 4. Because if it doesn't go through, then my office is going to send out another tax bill in the month of December, after the election. And I don't want to do that. You know why? Because I'm going to be the bad guy, sending another tax bill to collect the difference. And I don't want to do that. So I also included in your packet, and this is the state form, a homestead exemption application for those that haven't applied. Those individuals that haven't applied will not get, of course, the exemption, but it's not too late to apply. You can apply it at any time. What the taxpayers can do is apply, say today or tomorrow, and submit your application to the appraisal district. Once it's approved, I get those files, and what it's going to do, it's going to trigger a refund on the taxes that you paid up front. You're going to get you're going to get the difference back with a refund check from my office. So it's very important to fill out a homestead application. The reason, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, so that a way you can put this information on your Facebook page or your online or whatever type of information that you have. The idea is to spread the word that it's very important that our taxpayers fill out an application or make sure that they do have a homestead exemption on file. That concludes my information to the City Commission, to the City of Los Fresnos. Any questions, Mayor and Commissioners?
Unfortunately, I know this was a visitor's remark, so at this time, we want to thank you for being here today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we got consent agenda items 1 through 10. At this moment, I want to set aside 4 and 5, please. If there's a motion to be made.
I'll make a motion to approve 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the consent agenda.
Motion has been made. And I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Terry, what's your vote? Aye. And all those who vote not in favor, but I think everybody's voting in favor, so motion carries for those. The reason I'm pulling aside 4 and 5, I took a look at these 2 council members, Luis Gonzalez, Juan Munoz. These 2 folks, just like all of us up here, have been elected by the people to represent the people. And one thing that's a responsibility from all of us is to attend the meetings. At this time, I've noticed that Luis Gonzalez has missed 6 appointments. And I've also noticed that Juan Munoz has missed 7 appointments or 7 meetings. And when you're representing your constituents out there, I think we owe them a responsibility to be and attend these meetings, especially when we're out and about or doing different things. And,
Mayor,
excuse me, I'm talking, you
I'll
have
be
the floor. You'll have the floor as
I'll
soon
be
as I'm
glad to
done.
let you know that my
Go
wife
ahead and
was.
speak, go ahead and speak.
My wife was very sick.
Okay.
Actually, so I apologize for taking care of my wife those days.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And let me just continue with that. So it's 81%, 81.25% for Commissioner Gonzalez and 80% for Commissioner Munoz. Again, I've been elected as your mayor for 3 years, and I've only missed one meeting, and that's because I had COVID. This was back in January. So again, I know it's difficult. We all have different things going on. My mom's in the hospital right now. She's in Solara Hospital. She's almost passed away 2 weeks ago. And I'm here because I gave a commitment to my constituents that I would attend the meetings and I would make decisions for this community. Everybody wants the fame of being in a role, but at the end of the day, remember, we owe it. So all I'm asking for is please attend these meetings. It's very important. We make critical decisions for the city, and I just ask for decisions for y'all to be here. Now, with that said, I'll just motion that I do not accept these excuses, and that'll be my motion.
What was that, Mayor? The last part, I didn't get that.
I want to motion that action item number 4 and 5, I don't accept the excuses.
I make a motion to go ahead and excuse Luis Gonzalez and Juan Munoz from the last meeting, September 12th.
I already made a motion not to accept it, so you can either turn it down and then we can move to that, but I did make my motion. So you can't contra the motion until somebody either seconds it, and if it doesn't get seconded, then you're more than welcome to make your motion. I'm just making a motion that we don't accept those excuses.
My question would be, what are the excuses?
I don't know. What are they?
Well, like I mentioned before, right now, my wife is sick, and so sometimes Tuesdays, it gets very complicated. We do have appointments with therapy, so I do have to take her, so I apologize for taking my wife to therapy.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I myself missed 2 meetings. Since I come in, both times I was in the hospital, so.
That's different, Commissioner. I definitely understand that. When you're in the hospital, you can't make it. I'm just saying that 81% and 80% is not acceptable, and that's really why I'm not making a motion.
Well, I guess, I think the citizens of Los Fresnos decide that, not you, Mayor.
Again, I'm just making a motion. And if there's no motion to be made, then it dies, and you can go ahead and make your motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to go ahead and excuse Luis Gonzalez and Juan Munoz from the last meeting, September 12th, 2023.
Is there a second? Is there a second for Commissioner Macia's motion? So I would select to get some advice from our attorney, Mr. Juarez. There's no motion for either or.
Your motion died for lack of a second. His motion died for lack of a second, so there's no motion.
Okay, so, all right, so it just stays.
In my opinion, I believe that the matter is passed or taken.
All right, we'll go ahead and table consent agenda items number 4 and number 5. Moving on, action item number 1, consideration and possible action to award a bid to Texas Cordia Construction, the lowest responsible bidder, for bid number 2023 FM 1847-01, the FM 1847 sidewalk project.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is a project we've been working on for a while with TxDOT, CCRMA, and You can see the bids there and the explanation that they gave, and then my notes on the difference in the bidders and why the low bidder was not allowed because they didn't meet the requirements. They submitted one thing, but another one was supposed to be submitted, so their bid was nullified, so that leaves the bid for Cordia Construction, and that's our recommendation to approve that.
Mark, it's my understanding that we have a program out there that's going to be taking care of half of the cost, correct?
Correct. Of the additional that we will have to pay. In addition, we already have federal and state funds for the grant, for the majority of it.
I know that this is the area that's located right in front of the high school, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I know that it's a heavily trafficked area by children and regular people who go up and down that. So I know that that sidewalk is a much-needed sidewalk that I think the residents are going to appreciate, especially those that are walking up and down the road consistently from the park to that neighborhood down by Jacqueline. So any questions or comments from the board?
Hey, Mark, so that first bidder, they never submitted anything, period, or were they just late, or?
I didn't understand the question.
Well, the second part, that the requirement was for them to submit some documentation to the company for the bid. They were the lowest bidder, but they didn't submit the second portion. Did they ever submit that part?
I'll let Peter, Eric answer that, but it was a pre-qualification that they didn't meet.
Good evening, Eric Davila, Cameron County RMA Chief Engineer for the authority. Essentially what happened is the bidder was required not only to submit all of the paperwork, which is what's called the bid proposal, but at the time of bid, they were also notified that they needed to be pre-qualified with the state to perform the work. Pre-qualification is a step that we do not control. They had to go through TxDOT, and either, if they're already a contractor in the industry, they often already have pre-qualifications in their pocket, but depending on the size of the work, they may need to go and get what's called a confidential questionnaire. And the confidential questionnaire is the one that was required under this bid for the purposes that it was above $300,000. As you can see, the bids came in north of $452,000. And secondly, the work was within state right-of-way. So the requirement at the time of bid became that, because of the size of the project and where the work was being done, the confidential questionnaire was required. So bidder number one did not have that pre-qualification at the time of their submittal of the proposal. We actually extended the bid period by a week to give all bidders an opportunity to make their arrangements, get their pre-qualification submitted, and get it approved by TxDOT. At that point, we were hearing that it was taking TxDOT about 5 to 10 days to get these approved. So given the extra 7 days, we figured give people a little more time to get that sorted out. At the end of the day, bidder number one unfortunately didn't have it. We did advocate, to try to get some leeway in the fact that the project was, on the lower budget side of things, and that, it was our contention that we would have liked for bidder number one's price, obviously. We did ask for the leeway. We did talk to TxDOT. We did run it up the flagpole. At the end of the day, we're playing by TxDOT's rules. The pre-qualification is a federal aspect of the requirements that TxDOT passes down to us when we want to access these federal funds, which the majority of the project is being paid with. So at the end of the day, we ran this question by them. They came back with a reading that was, conservative, and said you should go with number two because number one at the time did not meet this very specific requirement. So that's why we're here today making the recommendation for bidder number two.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Any other questions from the comment or from the council? Mark, let me get this straight. The excess difference of $98,000, where half of it would be paid for by CCRMA, would leave an additional $49,000 expense for the city, correct?
Correct.
And based on the review that you've done of our finances, you recommend approval?
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board or motion?
Mark, where would we be pulling those funds from?
Street project fund.
So it's already been, it's tabulated in already into our budget?
I'll go ahead and motion to go ahead and award the bid to Texas Cordia Construction, the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, motion has been
second.
made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve or reject any or all proposals received for group health insurance. Mark, at this time, would you like to introduce this topic?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, as you can see in your packet, it's page 50 and 51. It shows quite a different number, total of 14 different options for insurance besides the renewal option. So quite a bit of look and what to do, because the renewal option is higher by about $100 an employee. If you look on page 52, when you look at over the last 7 years, we've done very well. Only even at the renewal rate, we only about just under 10% increase, which is very good. So our history's been good overall. It's just this year, we had some high claims. And so when you have high claims, then the premiums are going to reflect that. So we've looked at several different options. If you can see on page 50 and 51, some of those options increase the deductible that the employee would have to pay, and also increase the total annual out-of-pocket that they would have to pay. Of course, we would like to keep that as low as possible for the employees. The current one is a $500 deductible, and then out-of-pocket for the year, maximum will be $2,000. The renewal rate went from $495.42 to $599.48. So we naturally looked at how can we, is there other plans that we could do? And there are other plans that save money from that amount, but every one of them ends up costing the employee, like the option one that I showed you there, it changes the out-of-pocket to $3,000 for the employees. So it double, I guess, 50% increase from the $2,000 to $3,000. It is cheaper for that option, but our employees suffer. And then option two would increase it to $3,500 out-of-pocket for the year. And again, it would have a decrease, but not as much as the other one, because they know that they'll get it out of the pocket for the employee. So we looked at all of them, and we still recommend the renewal. Yes, it's an increase. We can cover it through the time of our budget through the year. It doesn't affect all 12 months. It only affects 10. It's still substantial, but we can cover it through the year and still be able to keep a good insurance plan for our employees. So that's our recommendation.
Mark, do we provide the HSA account for the employees for them to make contributions to, or go through like where they do their own lab work and they get money added to that so that we can help fund that premium or that deductible?
No, sir. There's not a qualified plan in place to contribute to an HSA. Because this plan has lower deductible as well as co-pays,
Okay, just kind of curious, because I know at my work, we have an HSA we contribute to, and it's invested, and then we can use that money to, yeah, and then we do different
Bless you.
blood work on our own, and it helps bring down or give us some more money to apply towards, to offset the cost. I was just hoping that'd be a good idea. I don't know if that could ever come to fruition here in the city of Los Fresnos, where we can implement a plan such as that for the employees.
Definitely always an option.
Tammy, can you come here?
Yeah, come on up, come on up.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Welcome, by the way.
By the way, that's Tammy Greer from Greer and Associates.
I remember her from the last time. Welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to be here this evening. To answer your question, yes, an HSA, high deductible, qualified health plan is always an option to consider. It can be considered. Historically, we just have, here at the city, have always gravitated towards lower deductibles with copay plans. I realize that sometimes popularity is not what we always get, what our wishes are. But when we do compare those two different plan design options, there's often not a whole lot of cost savings by removing those copays. So
Is it because of the size of the entity? Like, I know my employer's a lot larger, so maybe it's different cost-wise, maybe, could that play a
yes,
part?
some of it is the demographics. A lot of it is just the demographics of the groups. So, and not to say that they are not less expensive, but historically, the city has always gravitated towards copay plans for everybody.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask, because I know HSA has been growing a lot in popularity, and people have been
Very
definitely put a lot of
popular.
money in that.
I have one as well. So,
Thank you so much for answering
Thank
that
you.
question. Is there any other questions from the board in regards to this group plan?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the renewal option with Greer and Associates.
Motion has been made,
I'll second.
and motion has been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve or reject any or all proposals received for group life insurance.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that's paid on, sorry, my tongue twisted, found on page 53. And you can see it's the renewal rate is exactly the same. So, of course, that's what we recommend, is to keep it the same. And that's insurance that the city provides for employees for a life insurance policy in case they pass.
Mark, can employees have the option of increasing that double, triple, 4 times their salary or anything like that? Is that also available for employees? For a cost? Okay. You want to come up to the, sorry. That way people online can hear your questions or your comment, your response.
so in the past, the city has offered buy-up life insurance, which is what you're referring to, voluntary buy-up life insurance. It's in addition to the basic life and accidental death dismemberment that is provided by the city. Let me see, this past year, voluntary buy-up life insurance was not offered. It's available, it was just not offered. It was opted not to be offered. I want to say that it was just not even discussed. I'm not sure if it was because of myself or what, but there was, at one point, we did have buy-up life insurance. There was not a whole lot of participation, and possibly that was the reason that it was excluded or pulled back here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So we tend to have more participation on the dental and vision. And so, but it's certainly something that's not too late to bring in, being that it's a voluntary product.
And I'm sure all the employees are aware, they just maybe choose not to add this extra insurance. Is that correct, Mark?
They just don't want the extra expense. It's what's been the history.
Okay, okay, just kind of curious, because I know how important it is. A lot of people work a lot of years for the city, and then unfortunately they get sick and pass away, and it doesn't cost that much more to increase it, I would imagine, so, so that they can actually protect their families. I just thought if it was, I guess, a participation, and I guess you just addressed that there's not a lot of participation. As long as it's being offered, that's all we can do. I just didn't know if we had that. I didn't really see it on here.
We also have it as part of the supplemental insurance that we do. That it's a separate deal that.
Cancer and all
people
that.
get cancer and additional life insurance, and so they do have that option, and some people take advantage of that.
All right, well, that answers my question. Any questions for any of the commissioners up here?
No.
Thank you very much. If there's no further questions, any motion to be made on this particular action item?
No, wait.
I'll go ahead and motion to go ahead and approve a proposal received for group life insurance.
A motion has been made,
I'll second.
and motion has been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
All those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to number 4, consideration and action to approve or reject any or all proposals received for supplemental insurance.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there's 2 of them, dental and vision. I'll deal with the dental first. Current policies with Mutual of Omaha, $17 a month. Option 5 was through Humana for $14.28 per month for the employee. So a little bit of savings for the employees, not substantial, but it's the same dental coverage, and so that's our recommendation on that. Is I've got it written there on the recommendation on page 55. And then the vision is through Mutual of Omaha, currently at $570. If you look through the bids, option 8 is actually lower, but it doesn't have as much coverage for lenses and contacts. And so by the time you buy the lens, it would be more expensive. So our recommendation is to stay with Mutual of Omaha at $570 because that's the best benefit for our employees.
How many cleanings on the dental do they get, employee gets per year? Is it 3 or 2? 2. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board in regards to dental and vision? If not, if there's a motion to be made, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve action item number 4 as stated.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 5, it says here discussion. So this is a discussion on TJRZ number 2, and this is the Wood subdivision that we've been talking about.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if you'll recall, back in the summer, we approved the tax increment reinvestment zone for the Woods. And we approved it at a max of 40 years and 70% participation, which 70% participation means that whatever the value is there today, it stays with the city and stays with the general fund. As a dollar's increased, 70 cents goes to the TERS to pay it back, 30 cents goes to the general fund so that we can continue to offer services. The idea was for the county to mirror that, and so far the county has not mirrored that. And so I thought it was important that I come and just let you know that it doesn't necessarily mean that you change what you want to do with the TERS, but it might. The good thing about county's participation is it helps in fund some of those things that through county tax dollars that wouldn't ordinarily be there. I'll tell you what the county has told me the reason for denial. Number one is they wanted no more than 50% in any of their TERS anymore. They have done some that are greater than that, but they say anymore they're going to go 50% goes to the TERS, 50% goes to fund general services. The other key is that they will do it no more than 20 years. They feel like that when you add the 25, 30, and 40 years, it just extends it too much. So they've kind of put a stake in the ground that that's what we're going to do. The other probably big problem with what they have on this particular one is mostly what's financed is residential development. And I think we talked about that, and I told you all my concern with that from that very first meeting. One of the problems with that is if you pay for all the residential development for them to put water, streets, drainage, sewer, curb and gutter, but yet the other next developer did not get that deal, that's kind of a problem. So what we talked about is if we could get them to also fund some things that would be badly needed in relation to that development. And so we proposed those. One of them was Whipple Road that goes from, not the one that's already on the docket to be redone between now and 2026. That's from 1847 to 1575. This would be 1575 to the west, and it would connect into their subdivision and out to 100. So we proposed that that would be added. They agreed to add that. The other piece to that puzzle, if you'll remember, is open up more commercial property along Highway 100 for maybe a major retailer, whether it's grocer or a major a development of some kind, a big restaurant that would take more than 250 feet, I think is all they set aside from the beginning. So they did that, and that encouraged us as a city to want to participate in that. So those were the two big things. The other thing that we ask is, could you help us with sewer plant expansion? When we add 800 homes, we'll need to add some sewer capacity. We're working on funding other ways too. We never stop doing that, but if you have this other one available, well, then you use that. So the Whipple Road is kind of enticing to county because most of that would be in the county area right now. One day it'd probably all be city. Maybe some us, maybe some Indian Lake. Nevertheless, it'd be something that our residents need to have a bigger road. If you just think of 800 homes there, and they would be going out to 100 and also back Whipple Road to 1575. We need to plan that now, not later. So that's an interest to them. The other stuff that is really not an interest to the county. They said if they could establish better on the commercial part, they would maybe be willing to come back to the table, but they want us to decide that and then us present it to them, not the developer present it to them. So I'm kind of here for discussion, not a decision tonight. We can make a decision in subsequent meetings. One of the problems they have is when the developer developed the first part, 250 feet, I think it was 250, might have been 350, for commercial. The rest of it starts residential lots. So part of what they want reimbursed is they can sell a lot for $40,000-$50,000. And so you sell lot, all in those 15 acres or 18 acres that they're setting aside for a large retailer. That represents a lot of dollars in lot sales that they're not going to get. I think it's well worth the money myself because of the sales tax potential for that. County doesn't see it that way because they say it's their land already and you're kind of paying them back. So maybe there's a way we could meet halfway or a partial way, but
With the developer or with, are you talking about with the county or with the developer?
both.
Because I know the developer's been asking for that setback, right? They've been asking for that, maybe having more of real
Shorter,
estate.
shorter setback.
Yeah, shorter setback instead of the amount.
Yeah, that's not even in this discussion, really.
Yeah, and it's something I wouldn't agree to at all, even if would come up, so don't even worry about that one.
Just bringing it up, so that was one of the concerns they had. What was one of the concerns the county had?
Do what?
What was one of the concerns the county had, or what do you think the county could maybe move a little bit more on?
If we could somehow continue with Whipple Road, but on the commercial area, somehow identify it with a cost that would be acceptable to them. I'm not sure what that is right now, but
I do think, Mark, we need to be very careful with this because you are right. Like you mentioned, every developer is now going to be eyeing that. Housing right now, as we see, is productive in Los Fresnos. To give a torch to a development company that's going to put aside only 15 acres or approximate 13, and the rest of it being homes, is a huge advantage to that developer. I thought we were being very modest as it was already. I don't think I would want to budge even more. I think personally, Cameron County is correct. We do need to open up a lot more sales tax, which means commercial properties, which I think that developer is not considering because it felt like 13 acres, while it was a good gesture on their part, it's not what they want to do because they want to sell lot at $50,000. After a few months of debating this myself, this church, it can be a great idea, but if we gear it towards commercial primarily, so that way we don't get into, or we don't have questions of favoritisms on developers in the future.
I think it ends up total of, it's 15 acres on one, but then they set aside an additional 20 acres, so it's a total of 35 acres, which is substantial for that. And to me, I think that's more in the lines of what the county had in mind, but if I could get with a developer and see how to propose that differently than, okay, I lost $40,000 for this lot times 20, that's whatever dollars that developer wants that back. If we can propose that or work that in a different way, then I think maybe the county might.
40 years is substantial as well, so that's something you said county would be 20 or 25
They're
max?
no longer, they won't go any more than 20 and no more than 50/50. In other words, they want whatever the increase in value is, they want to keep half of it and give half of it to the TERS for up to 20 years. Some, like our TERS with them, on the other one that we did was 15 years. And they liked that. And we've done only projects that benefited both county and the city, mainly with streets that helped circulation of not only city residents, but county residents, but
Which would, Whipple Road, the continuation of that Whipple would help a
Whipple
lot.
would, just like we did Henderson, the crossings, because now we're set up. One of them was 100% in the city and the other was half and half. So it ended up about the split of what your taxes are, because our taxes are higher than the counties. And so it ended up paying about the same as what we would have paid if we would have had to fund it additional way, but came together and say, okay, we fund our part, you fund your part. And so that's why they were so receptive to that, is because it saved them from a huge expense, and they did it through the TERS.
Hey, Mark, on this Thursday, we had already done the first and second reading. After we're discussing what we're talking about, it changes the percents from the county. If they were to accept the percents and the years, do we have to go back for another reading?
Commissioner, I
Second
think,
reading?
Commissioner, can I talk with this discussion, right? Sure. I think at this point, while I know it may be more work for Mark, I think we need to go back to square one and reassess just the whole situation. Do it in partnership with county, but at the same time, well, let's not offer more than what we need to as well. I'm sorry, Mark.
We can accept and go forward with what our commitment we've made. We're fine with that. But you had I needed to tell you that the commitment that you made was based that you were going to have a partner in the county that did this, that mirrored what you did. So if the county's not going to mirror what you're doing, maybe you don't want to do that same commitment. I'm not saying yes or no, but you should have that ability to now go and say, you know, we want 50-50, 20 years, or we want to stay at 70%, because we see the value in it a little bit different than the county does. And I'm not saying that we're right or they're wrong. We have different needs and wants than the county does. Does that make sense? A huge retail commercial area built out would be phenomenal for our community. And so if they're not sold on that, I think we still need to be sold on that part of it. If we pull back from residential, which I've had a problem with from the very beginning because of what Luis said, is, I mean, we have a developer across the street that's developing. They put all of their money in to put water in, to put sewer in there, to put streets in, to put drainage. We have a developer back here that put all of their money in to do water, sewer, streets. I didn't even talk about electricity and electrical because it's
not the same.
from somebody else.
Yeah, he wants more help, and all the other ones are doing it themselves.
Right, and so what Louis's comment was is then they're going to come ask. They will ask, and you'll get everyone ask, and they will come here and they'll say, why did you do it for them and not for us? And so it's okay to say, because we got Whipple Road, we got some lift station work, we got a capacity at our sewer plant, we got a big commercial development. You bring that to us, we'll consider a TERS for you too. You see the difference? If we hadn't have added the lift station, the sewer plant capacity, the Whipple Road, in the commercial area, well then I would have never have been okay with it. You understand?
Now, Mr. Juarez, since we did go in full faith and credit right, and we tried to do this and county told us no, are we responsible or liable for anything on that aspect?
I didn't understand the question. Please say that again.
Are we responsible for anything since we tried to and the county rejected it because we can't mirror, and so there is no contract, right? Correct.
It's not contractual yet.
Right, we haven't,
It's still in formation, so yes, I don't think we're obligated at any point.
well, you become, once that creation of that TERS is developed, even if it's already started, you're the board, so you make no decisions to approve any expenditures, well, then it ceases to exist, you know what I'm saying? So,
Hey, Mark, but if the county doesn't participate, or even if they participate less than what they initially we were told they were, then our portion, of course, is gonna be a lot higher. Whether it's 20 years or 30 years that we fund to pay back from the taxes. So I think that regardless of which direction we go, we probably need to go back and do another reading, first and second, rather than make it seem like we actually did a reading, a first reading, a second reading, but yet we changed all the dynamics afterwards.
yes, you can certainly do that, and you're not committing any more than you originally committed to. The issue is the county, as of right now, is not playing ball, so to speak, so they're not contributing anything, which means the developer is gonna have to contribute what the developer was hoping the county would contribute. Does that make sense? So it doesn't really increase our liability or our,
It just gives them more skin in the game.
right. Does that make sense?
And we're gonna
Now,
still
Mark,
get what we want.
who's asking for us to go to the county? Is it the developer or the county itself?
The county itself, when they denied participation, I just called and I said, is this over? What do you want? And they said, well, if we're not interested in over 20 years, we're not interested in over 50%, and we're not interested in anything to do with residential. We've got residential all over the county, and the developers are paying for that. If it can be something else that y'all bring to us, the city, that says, hey, county, this'll help us. Yes, it'll help the developer too, but they want to know what will be good for Los Fresnos. And if something will be good for Los Fresnos, they'll be interested in hearing it and possibly, taking it under consideration again.
And could the developer pick up on the extra costs that the county didn't want to pick up?
Yes, the developer will have to do that.
Yeah, so have we approached them, or do you think, I guess, like I said, we're staying with what we said. The adjustment is just not on us, it's on the county.
Correct.
And so if the developer will pick up that slack, then we're right on business. Considering what we're
Still
doing.
for 40 years though?
Well, I don't know, that was what we originally had talked about. So like I
Correct.
said, we're not gonna be liable for anything more than that, because the developer will pick up the additional costs.
Correct. It doesn't change, just because the county didn't participate, it doesn't change. We're still 40 years and 70%, so we get 30%. So that amount doesn't change over time. So our commitment level is no different. The developer will have to put in more. If we don't change. Now, if we go back and say, hey, we did this under the pretense of the county also participating in equal value, they're not, so we need to revisit it. That's an option.
Now,
Yeah.
Mark, what's the sense of feeling from the developer? Is it positive, or are they also in a standstill? What feeling do you get from them?
Disappointed, because they said they haven't seen this from the county before, but that's not what I'm hearing from the county, but,
I could see where county, with development happening and every developer putting in their own weight and their own money, I could definitely see what county said no. I think if anything, we need to go back to developer and yes, have them be responsible for all of those things, infrastructure-wise, that they were having the county to pick up on. 40 years is a lot of years, right, to do that 70-30 split. I think if anything, I'm okay going, well, like I said, it might be a little bit more work for you because, but going back to square one and getting aligned with county before we go with the developer, if anything. Does that make sense?
I can work on that.
Mark, what about adding more commercial property instead of those acres and maybe proposing that to the developer and making it a little bit more enticing for county to be like you said, what's better for Los Fresnos, you know? Because he's got too many residential. So instead of 15 acres, we can make an adjustment somewhere there to add some more commercial property.
I will ask and ask exactly how that would happen. That transaction, I don't know how. Does that mean
Any
the
wiggle
land-
room,
Does that mean the
yeah.
land's free? Does that mean we get to decide who goes there? Does that mean, there's a lot of questions I'm not certain of. But I do think if the county saw that a huge commercial development that would be a boom for the city, that would entice them to become a player.
Could we
They
set
just
up a
don't
meeting?
like how it's set up.
Could we set up a meeting with the county and with the developer to maybe make it a little bit more enticing? Because I don't think all three entities have gotten together, correct?
County wants us to deal with them.
So we're, okay.
They want us, they don't want the influential developer to tell us what's good for the city. They want us to say, hey,
What's good for us?
this is what we see, and could you help us with it? And then they'll run that way rather than a developer telling them, so.
So we can play hardball and say this is
And
what
then
we
go to
want,
the
and that's
developer and
it?
say, hey, this is what we worked out. And I'm okay to start those. I do need to go to the developer with some discussions on the commercial area and how that plays out and how we can formulate that in a good way for commercial development that is beneficial for the city, but also for the county and the county residents. I mean, you're not very far from county residents, and with the way our schools are located, we got 2 high schools that'll be located in the middle of that, and county residents just half a mile away from that.
So like Mr. Councilman just mentioned, Mr. Macias, does that mean we're gonna have another one discussion two with whatever else we come with? So all of this is pretty much, we're gonna throw it into the shredder and kind of readjust most of it?
We'll just pause it and see where it takes us. It might pause it, and as we discuss through the time, and it might take you back to the same place, and it might take you to a different place, and then we'll,
Yeah, Mark,
Move from
I
there.
think also, before we go to the county and propose anything over there, we really need to know where the developer stands, right? Because, I mean, is he gonna go ahead and take a loss of the 30%, or is he gonna settle for so much before we actually go try to negotiate a particular project with the county?
got a pretty open relationship. I'll just ask them very, very pointed questions. I'm sure they'll watch this video, so.
Yep, I'm pretty sure they'll watch it.
So we can just gather more information from them, see how I can make that, and then come back to you in a future meeting with what that might look like and see if that's appealing.
Yeah, I think now that Cameron County pretty much said their kind of understanding on how they're gonna work with Turks, I think that leaves us without a dancing partner now, so I think at this point we got to just keep looking.
And Mark, maybe you can come up with some ideas or something like that. I know you're good at that, so there's a way that we can kind of move this around to still be where we were at, but to make it work.
Make it work so it's a benefit for us, but not,
No, it's always, yeah, it's always a benefit for us in the county. It's just a matter of the developer, how much skin in the game are they gonna want to put in to this project?
yes.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and move forward. No action taken. At this point, we'll be acknowledging the city manager's reports. Mark, is there any updates you want to give us?
Yeah, had a lot of questions about the street there by the post office. In case you get any, they're supposed to start working on that on the 19th, which I think is next week. They've the reason why the delay is once they got the driving lanes open and marked and everything, I reported last month that there's drainage issues at Mesquite and 100 going towards Lopez Riggins Elementary at the Dairy Queen and at Wingstop. And all it has to go is half a block to the alley to drainage, or down 100 to this drain right here where the drainage ditch. There's zero slope from Dairy Queen to there. Why they did that, and it was engineered, the contractor didn't mess up. It was TxDOT engineered it that way. So they can re-slope the curb and the sidewalk without changing the pavement and make it flow with the curb and gutter with enough drop to do that. So that's what they're working on engineering to do, and how that will be on Mesquite. They're going to ask us to participate a little bit in the sidewalk, because when they have to do the drain back towards Lopez Riggins, and so we're waiting to see what that's going to look like. So they wanted all of that to be ready to go before they started there by the post office, but he said that post office part will start hopefully Monday, and the work down here by Wingstop and Dairy Queen as well. Street project is, they started putting up some barricades this week. They're going to work, there's about half of the streets or a little more that do not have any sewer or work with that street. And so they're going to start on those first to get those probably turned out, rather than the streets that have the sewer work that will take a long time, and then the street work. So they're going to start on those, like 8th Street. There's 2 places there. The one by half block there by the library off of 100. A couple of streets like that just have the street and sidewalk work. So they'll start on those here pretty soon. They're putting up barricades. Did get another question that's been on the west sewer additions all the way to Harvey's. They're all online, and we're taking in sewage from them on around the Harvey Escalante Road and the school. We were waiting on the easement, got that signed this morning, so we'll file that this week, and the contractor's ready to go back and get to work. There's just a few lines and connections that they have to make for that. I think the electricity's on, right? Or it's ready to be on, so that should be buttoned up pretty soon.
Hey, Mark, on the other deal, on the report, the drainage, are we complete with that? I know that we had talked about it months ago about the ditch that runs over here behind the rodeo grounds along the back,
Yes.
10th Street. That's done already, right?
It's all done, and they've even did some more widening of the ditch from to
Old Bridge.
have more
collapse.
capacity. And the reason why they did that is, if you'll remember when the bridge blew out in 2018 flood, which we think it had blockage, and so that was the backup that we had on 10th Street, some on 9th Street. When the pressure got so great, it blew the bridge all out. They weren't going to replace it, but they found in a deed that showed the easement was granted for the drainage as long as they had a crossing. So if you'll recall, some people that have homes and ranches over here couldn't get there. They were coming this way, but there was a fence put up on private property, so it was not illegal to put the fence out, but those folks had no way to get there. So Drainage District Number 1 put the the pipe back in, but it's a much, much larger pipe, and I think it won't cut the flow any. So all that's been done. Hanson is still working on the plan and everything for the draining of Falcon Lake, what I call, there by the nature park. We need water in it. We don't need to drain any right now. Also around Valle Alto, because Valle Alto is on the north side of the canal, everything drains to the south. They're part of that grant that we got for 1.6 million grant and loan, half and half. They are doing a study to see how we can improve that. Now that the irrigation canal is underground, part of the fix to that is going to be clean that ditch along by O'Reilly's it runs. And once it gets done, we will maintain that ditch on a regular basis because we have access now. So just to answer yes on a lot of different places. Luis went to a meeting with Drainage District Number 1 a few months back from a letter that the mayor sent to Drainage District Number 1 for 3 drainage areas that there's ditches available to drain the water, but they're on private property. And so the request is for the irrigation district, the drainage district to take those over and start maintaining them.
Have they budged on that one in front of the school?
Wasn't a very successful meeting. They said, we'll come back with one. And so we're working on the property owners and everything from, it's just by this side of Tapia's, and it runs to the south and connects into the big drain. So there's only about a dozen or less property owners. So getting the easement, I don't think will be very difficult. But it's something that we're going to continue to work with, not only for this Los Fresnos area, and we're pushing it. I've mentioned to the Brownsville folks because they're also in that area, and I'm sure if we've got 3 that need to be taken over by the drainage district, they probably got 10. And also mentioned it to the county as well, because there's county areas in there that probably have ditches that
We could use.
drainage district needs to take them over. They're in the drainage business. They need to do that. So that's what we're pushing for. No big movement, but I
Yeah.
think some progress is being made that's going to have to be what they do.
Yeah, and I know they may want to do it reluctantly, we may have to, but it's gonna have to happen just because a lot of the drainage of the city pretty much depends on those new, I would call them what they say, primary channels now? Is that what they, primary and secondaries?
Yeah, they call them a main drains and I'll say auxiliary drains, but it's not, they use a different word. But my opinion is who made that call back in the day?
And I'm pretty sure it was back in the day, 80s, 70s, and when that happened. So at this point, the growth has, overlapped the needs of
need to
those
be
times.
increased. Yeah. That's all I have unless y'all have other
Any
comments.
questions or comments about acknowledgement of city manager's report?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
If not, if there's a motion to be made.
Make a motion to accept the city manager's report.
Motion has been made
I'll second.
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Acknowledgement of department head reports. Any questions or comments from the board? Or a motion?
Make a motion, we accept all the department head reports.
Motion has been made
I'll second.
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. At this time, it's 7:14. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you and have a good day.
Where are you going?
Go to Tennessee in the morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna be up there for a business trip.
You taking
Really?
family?
No, it's just me and Lizette Cantu, or Lizette, yeah, we're both going.
So,
This,
She's gonna be my partner in crime.
so what is,
she's fine.
Yeah, she's cool.
just let it go?
Are you too, Jackie?
Yes. It ain't gonna matter anyway. Excuse or not excuse? No.
Yeah, I'll be back, yeah, Monday, because Friday I fly in pretty late.
Yes, I talked to Ms. Erica from Harlingen, and she was gonna give me a report as to how many participants they have in there, because she didn't